Now, we're almost done with the skills, except for one big part, and that is all the similar skill bonuses. Now, we already know about these that are down here in the similar category, so we also have this weapon category 1, one-handed edged. So basically, if he's not using a short sword, but he is using a one-handed edged weapon, this is where he starts to use some of this stuff. So let's take a look at our rank bonuses. You see why all this is so much easier. Like, you're either just using paper and pencil and going through every step, or you've got an Excel sheet. And depending on which version you have, there are definitely spreadsheets out there and Adobe files that autofill and do all that stuff for you. They're all out there. Now, obviously, they're either going to go by rules as written, or they're going to have house rules in it that you may not want. So anyway, so we need to take a look at some of these things. So our weapon category is currently at 10, because we've only got 2 ranks of it. So you get half of it here. Appraisal, we only did 1 rank, so 3. Same for that one and that one. Right, armor evaluation, and yep, those stayed at 3. Leatherworking, we only did one rank of that. So that's also just, we're going to round it up to half. Streetwise, I believe we have 2 ranks in now. Yep, so that's 5. And racial history, I think racial history might have stuck at 1. Yeah, it stayed at 1. So all these skills that you haven't developed, they start off with a negative 25 penalty. You've got the stats involved. You've got any professional bonuses, and you've got the similar bonuses here. So, like, if you look at this, one-handed edge is now completely even. So you could just pick up a weapon that isn't his practiced weapon and roll the dice and just take the result as rolled rather than having some kind of penalty. Let's see. And unfortunately, these negative 5 stats are kind of killing these things from kind of keeping them from making good progress. But like Streetwise, if he's not in his hometown, he's not terribly suffering there. The other thing I noticed as I was going through this, by the way, is that body development, I put in rank bonuses. Body development, right? It's the number of dice you get to roll, and the size of the die is determined by your race. And the high elves are D8s. So now I'm looking through my bag here for a D8 real fast. That's a D8. It's my column D8. So you just roll it that way. So that was not a roll. It was an 8, but it wasn't a roll. So I got a 2. Wow, a 2. And a 4. Ugh. Alright. So his base hits are 17. Now, thankfully we're not done with that. But we'll get to that. There's a big old mathematical equation. I mentioned it in one of my other things. So, we have one other thing to do and this is a Rolemaster Companion 2 thing, again, and it is, this does get lengthy, guys. This does get lengthy. There are cross-skill bonuses that aren't just like weapon category, this specific weapon, and then bonuses to all the other in that same category. No. Like gymnastics. We have jumping. We do not have... Do we have acrobatics? We do have acrobatics, and we do have jumping. So, for instance, what we're seeing here is that jumping is going to take a quarter of tumbling and a quarter of acrobatics. Right? So, here's jumping. It needs a quarter, so I'm going to say equal to a quarter of acrobatics. Acrobatics is at 5, so that's just 1. Plus tumbling, which just has one rank, so I'm going to give it 1. So there's just a little measly 2. Now, that's not a lot. That's not a lot. I mean, it's 1/15 of your total bonus or you added a 15th to your total bonus. But this stuff can stack up, especially as you go up in levels. And acrobatics gets a quarter of jumping and a quarter of tumbling. So that's going to be 3. It's going to be 1 from tumbling and 2 from jumping. And tumbling itself gets a quarter of acrobatics. But nothing from jumping. So it just gets 1. And let's see. The deadly skills. Silent kill gets a quarter of ambush, and ambush gets a quarter of silent kill. Wow. Well, I haven't developed silent kill yet, actually. So silent kill, though, is going to get a quarter of that. That's just 1. I put it there because as this kind of character, you might need to know what the numbers are, even if you haven't developed it. Athletics. Now, this is important because by development gets half of dancing, 1/8 rowing, 1/8 sprinting, and we did actually develop sprinting, but I don't know that we've developed it that much. Well, we've got 10, so you got another hit. We never developed climbing, but it gets an 1/8 of body development. Yep, it gets an 1/8 of body development, which means it's going to get 1. Sprinting, we developed, gets a quarter off athletic games, a quarter off of body development, so it'll get a quarter of body development, and a quarter of body development. That's what it's going to get. So that's going to get 2 points off of body development. You see how this is building up to take some serious time here. So what's next? We didn't take any animal skills. We did take evaluation skills. They all feed into each other at a quarter. No, that's not quite right. Weapon evaluation only feeds into general appraisal at an 1/8. Okay, let's just hop down to the appraisals then. So 5 divided by 8 is just barely over half. I'll give it 1. And 1 from armor evaluation, and then armor evaluation is going to get 1 from each of them, and weapon evaluation will also get 1 from each of them. Social skills: seduction, leadership, interrogation, gambling, duping, diplomacy. I thought about duping. I did not put it on the final list. Caving, foraging. These are the survival skills. He doesn't have any of the survival skills. And this is actually the second. I think this thing continues somewhere else. They split it up, if I remember right. It's actually the skill cost tables. If I remember right. Yep, here they are. So concentration skills, adrenal moves, quick draw, takes from all the other adrenal moves which we haven't developed. So there's that. Subterfuge skills, we took Stalk Hide, which takes a quarter from camouflage, a quarter from hide, or an 1/8 from hide item. We don't have either of those. Linguistic skills, lip reading, takes an 1/8 from ventriloquism, which we didn't take. Combat skills, I was thinking about putting a disarm foe in there, but just ran out of stuff. So maneuver in soft leather takes from maneuver in rigid leather and maneuver in plate. No, chain, but we don't have either of those developed. But technically that does mean that we have small portions feeding into the others. I'm not going to take the time to write that down because the idea is he's not wearing that. Perception, here we go. Here's a good one. Perception skills, so general perception takes an 1/8 of everything else, a whole bunch of the other ones, except for surveillance. It takes a quarter. The only other perception we took was lie perception, so it takes an 1/8 of lie perception. Here we are. So there's another point there. Oops, that's for general perception. That belongs up there. Lie perception takes an eighth of general perception. So those two are done. Magical skills. Power perception. All it does is takes a quarter of targeting skill, which we don't have. And the only other thing we have is spell list development, which is not really one of these. Now, that's just the ones that we get from within inside the categories. Yes, there's a lot of stuff here. Back just above that other list that I was looking at is this one. This is similarity for skills not in the same category, and so unfortunately you just have to kind of scan through this and see if you've got alchemy and poison perception feed off of each other. Anthropology takes stuff from language and stuff like that. We didn't end up taking athletic games, so I thought about it. Blah, blah, blah. See, climbing also works with grappling hooks. They feed into each other, but we didn't take grappling hooks, so no difference there. Lures, flying, grappling, herb lore, lock lures and pick locks fit into each other at 1/2. So what we can do is we have half there from pick locks. So if you were to say he knew something about locks, which is difficult to say, he does have a bonus to recalling those things at, well, he doesn't actually have much of a bonus, but it's not as bad as if he had 0. Again, you see, third time I said this, I think, you see why you really just kind of want all this in an Excel sheet, and maybe why you don't even want to play with Rolemaster Companion to expand the list. The other one's a lot shorter. A lot shorter. In fact, let me show it to you. In the optional rules, you've got the options for more skills. Where are we at? We're not even in the optional rules yet, are we? Oh, yeah, we were. Here we are. 40 skills, right here. Right? So, you don't really need all this cross benefits if you're just playing with like 40 skills. Trading and trading lore feed into each other. Trading lore feeds into all evaluations. So if we really wanted to get them better at evaluations, we could develop some trading lore. But that's it. That's all the out of cross-category bonuses. So that wasn't that much. We didn't gain a lot, but again, as you get bigger, as you progress in levels and you put more points in, this stuff is going to start feeding into each other really big. It's also a way to really benefit from focusing in one area.